Liquid win.
Thank you, guys. Great cast on the day. I'm joined by Dominate after Liquid's convincing win over Cloud9 towards the late game. I want to come in first asking, how much weight did you guys put on the change of High being in the jungle this game? Did it affect you at all, really?
We actually thought that the team might perform better. Whenever you get a new member, you kind of have a new air of confidence about you up until you play on stage. So I think that really showed through this game. They seemed really decisive, which was different than when we played them earlier. Before, they seemed like they were making split calls and stuff like that. But this game, I felt like they were really good about all committing to the same team fight and stuff like that. So I think that that's really Hyde's influence in the team.
And now on a professional level, is there any kind of mentally affected play that comes through during the early game when you guys were somewhat behind at Cloud9? High is making moves, High is making plays. Does that get in your mind at all, or can you just play through that?
We just have to play through it. They have a lot of split pressure on us because they had Rek'Sai TF and they have a Fizz with TP. So it's really hard for us to react to their moves in the early game because at any time if we pressure a side lane, they could have 2 more people there with the Rek'Sai. The TF, if it's bot lane, they could have even 3 more people there, which is kind of what happened in the first team fight that caught us off guard. So it was kind of hard for us to deal with all the split pressure, and they were playing it really intelligently in the early game. So it was definitely a tough game.
All right, Dom, week 4 was a bit of a falter. We saw the TSM and Dig games not go your way. Tomorrow's game of the week is Dignitas versus Team Liquid. What have you guys kind of done to right the wrongs in those late game fights that really didn't go your way?
I think that those late game fights were things that would only happen once. We talked about what we could do better, and we have a little bit of a better mind about us, I guess, as Peter would say. So when we get to the team fights in the late game, I think that we should do better than before. And I think this game was kind of one-off late game team fighting. So I think we've made progress in that respect.
Oh, progress indeed. You guys have a great record coming into this season. Congrats on the win. Definitely get the handshake in there. We're going to throw it over to the analyst desk to get that game broken down.
Thank you, Riv, and right there, Dominate, giving some props to High, making the assessment that he had the kind of influence we were expecting in terms of making more decisive calls and really orchestrating the team, pointing them in a very specific direction. Thoughts, though, on how he did perform in the jungle?
Yeah.
On this first showing on the stage?
I think it was super mixed. They manipulated the lane swap very well. Team Liquid also messed up the lane swap a bit, which was the biggest reason for the early game discrepancy. And then I think the rust ended up showing through the rest of the game. The late game team fights were actually off of some bad Baron calls. And whatever happens when you're picking up a new role, yes, he made Cloud9 much more decisive. But the weaknesses that we expected were the weaknesses that were there. His Rek'Sai was not good in team fights whatsoever. He didn't really seem like he knew where to go or what he wanted to do, which is going to happen because he's not a Rek'Sai player. He's not a jungler.
Right.
So that's one of the big things that happened this game.
And I think a big thing, too, is this is a high execution team composition against a team fight comp. You're we have to split push and orchestrate a split push exactly right or it's not going to work out. And if they team fight us and they have all the tools to do so with an Annie and Righteous Glory, we're pretty screwed. So High pretty much had to have control of everybody at every moment, and pulling that off as a shot caller who's now back on stage for the first time in the split. It's a tall order.
Right, but to a degree, that would be what you would want to do if you're bringing in somebody into a role you're not sure they can perform in team fights fully. Is hey, you know what? Let's take his greatest attribute, which is being this puppeteer, and we
worked.
saw it. Yeah, we saw it manifest through 30 minutes of the game.
Yeah, even the early game turret dive. It was an early game move that Cloud9 hadn't been able to execute before, but they were able to do in this game.
Right, and then calling the split pushes with saying, hey, we're gonna trade this objective. Let's go up top. Let's get that inhibitor. So there are glimpses of that old High shot calling. The question is, can they get him to that point mechanically, individually in his role that they'd be willing to go into team fights, and that when they do go late, it's not going to hinge on him perfectly orchestrating all these trades and we get a Baron for their drag. Do we think that they can get there with the amount of time they have before their playoff hopes are entirely shut out?
It's getting later and later.
Yeah.
You had some thoughts on their struggles as well.
Yeah, it really depends on how long they keep High as well, because I know that High is more or less a temporary solution, and they kind of want to look at whatever they can do in the jungle if Meteos is coming back, if they're pulling somebody else up. But I feel like Cloud9, it's pretty rough.
I do want to credit Team Liquid, though, for this specific game, because Dominate had mentioned before in the season that in order for them to be a top team, they have to win the close games or the games they fall behind early against the bottom-tier teams. And as much as we don't want to admit it, Cloud9 is now a bottom-tier team, and they did exactly that in this game. They took an early deficit, they stalled it out until the team fight phases or until Cloud9 made a mistake at the Baron pit, And then they won the game.
I do want to jump back because I blew right by it. You mentioned the turret dive in the bottom lane off the back end of that team fight. We're going to pull that replay up on your screens. Irene, you're going to take us through it.
Yeah, so this is actually just really well orchestrated from both sides at the start, and then Incarnation will flank off Piglet and push him off to the side. So as we roll this replay out, you're going to see how Cloud9 approaches this fight and how they're constantly reevaluating the landscape and where people are positioned. The TP's positioning, Team Liquid's going to go towards where their majority of the members are, and High's in the middle of all of them, and then Incarnation goes after Piglet, sections him off, pushes him all the way off to the side, and then rejoins the fight. So now it's essentially a 5-on-4 in this cluster. They get Quas over the wall. Dominate uses his ultimate to only hit Quas. So Phoenix doesn't get to ulti this fight because the barrel's down, and then what ends up happening is this gold card.
There.
Flash Body Slam comes through as Phoenix is stunned, so he can't ulti Incarnation, and then everybody from C9 recollapses on the left side, and they come in for this cleanup, and then they get to dive them afterwards. Just really well orchestrated there, because at the start, Incarnation pushes him off, pushes Piglet out. It's a 5-on-4. Quas flashes the wall, 4-on-3, and then they retake that fight.
Right, so they did get that advantage off of that. Now I want to jump back to Team Liquid and your point, Jet, which is that they were working from behind. My concern with Team Liquid, though, here is that they are playing incredibly gun-shy after a couple late-game errors in the past that have cost them games.
Right.
And this is going to plague them for a while, possibly.
Yeah. Well, we'll hit this somewhat quick, but there were moments in that game twice where they could have easily, in my opinion, ended the game. But they are gun-shy because they had a game against Team Dignitas where they didn't take the minion wave with them to the turret, lost the game off of that, and the team fight they won in front of Cloud9's base, they had Baron buff and 4 people dead. And
for 20 seconds
on the death timer. And they said, yeah, sure, let's go back to base. And that could have costed them against a better team.
Exactly. Yeah. So we'll have to see if this victory here will at least, get them back up out of the gutters in terms of whether or not they think they can close out games. We've still got more league action set to hit your browser, continuing with the battle for second place between Counter Logic Gaming and Gravity. The North American LCS continues after this.
Sneaky.
Yo.
Hey, do you guys all have your runes?
Shooting for the stars, right, man?
Yeah, bruh.
Shooting for the stars.
Yeah, bruh.
Let's do it. Legit.
Shooting for the stars.
I think I'm here to lose, man.
Trapped inside.
But they go early. Lemonation doesn't have an ultimate. He just goes in.
I'm taking. One more.
Yo, you have courage.
You got it, Sneaky? Nice.
The fight continues. They turn right back around. One picked up. Piglet on the chase. Misses the Q, but he's gonna get the double kill. Yes, he will. Cloud9 in a 4v5. Balls knocked up in the back line. Sneaky's gonna go down as well. What a great fight. Team Liquid get a triple kill on the Phoenix.
Wait for it. Coming.
Okay. Help him.
I ulted Fizz in. Fizz. Kill Fizz.
Fizz.
Yep. Speeding is up. On TF.
We can end off that.
In favor of Team Liquid. Here comes the dive. Here comes the chase. Piglet gets another. Kill goes over to the Gragas. Triple kill for I Will Dominate. Team Liquid improved yet again, beating up Cloud9.